Hello, welcome back to Truth Speak. Again, I apologize, it's been quite a while since my last video. I'm also going to apologize because I'm breaking the area that I was going into. I was going into Christianity. I am still going to do that, but at the moment I have found something more pressing that I want to address and that I want to give to you guys today, and it's kind of a culmination of the things that I've talked about, as well as some new ways to look at it, a different perspective. Today I'm talking about the power of mindset. If you have the mindset that you will never be able to do something, it inclines you not to engage that particular thing as though it may be either a waste of your time or something that you will never be able to wrap your head around. And I want to challenge that perspective, and I want to bring things to light for you that you can train yourself to do anything. Now, granted, I'm not saying that you would become the best at everything, but you can allow yourself to do more than you are currently doing. And why is that important? Let's make it a little more practical. For example, there is the Florida Gun Supply owner. He decided to make his establishment a Muslim-free zone. And I sent him a message and I said, hey, you know, there's 1.5 billion Muslims in the world, according to some estimates. For you to completely negate 1.5 billion people because of the actions of a few, when all white people don't agree with each other, all black people don't agree with each other, all white, and nobody. Okay, it's just no race, no, even religions have huge schisms between them. If we were talking about Christianity, there seems to be so many branches that they are at times at direct conflict with each other. And it's important to note here that though everybody doesn't agree, it doesn't mean that you can't be kind. It doesn't mean that you can't be polite. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have the mindset that, you know what, there are some good people, there are some bad people. I will always try to find and give credence to good people. At the same time, be prepared to deal with the bad people. You can't just be like, well, all of them must be this way because all that I hear about them are like this. No, there's somebody there that's obviously not going to be a part of that. They all don't agree. And so for you to brush all of them off, that's the easier thing to do. Take the path less taken. Do something harder. I think that's a poem, right, from Frost or somebody. Do what is harder. Everybody likes the path of least resistance because it requires less energy, it just requires less focus, you can kind of do it with your subconscious. That's the part that I'm trying to awaken within you today. Be aware of yourself. Let facts and your mind determine things more than your emotions. You want to be in control of your emotions. Otherwise, you'll end up continually repeating different cycles for no reason at all. For no reason at all. And that is more of a waste of your time. You know, I have conversations with a lot of people because they're shocked to find out that I'm a virgin. And it's very interesting that when I'm having a conversation, they immediately want to negate what I'm saying about, be it sex or relationships, because, oh, you can't understand. You haven't done it yet. You don't understand. I don't understand maybe the emotions that come around from it completely, but I can definitely understand how they began. I can definitely see the results from your relationship, from other people's relationships, and I have been involved in relationships for myself in which we did become very close. Granted, we just didn't add that physiological portion to it. There are things that you can learn from somebody who's never done it before because, again, truth is the truth regardless of medium or messenger. One of the individuals I was talking to gave the example that this guy, he was talking about a friend, was trying to teach another friend how to throw a correct punch from something that he had read in a book, but not actually done it for himself. Now, there's two ways to treat that. There is the way of like, okay, you've never done it yourself, so I'm going to immediately reject what you're saying. There is, however, another way to look at it. Granted, you haven't done it yourself, but you've come in contact with some new information that maybe I will be able to apply to the things that I have already done and that I will continue doing. Good advice can come from anybody, and it can come from anything. If you look at the inspiration for a lot of the great things that we have going on today, not everything was clear cut and clear dry. Sometimes it came from something that you didn't expect. And the best way to counter that, oh, you've got to experience it for yourself before you can have any kind of thoughts on it or find the truth about it, I challenge that, because one of the defining theories of our world today was done from a thought experiment. Now, if you want to make him something more mythical and make him something so different from yourself that you could never attain something like that, that's up to you. But I refuse to believe that I can't, if I apply myself, at least not maybe find what he found, but find something equally as important. I will strive towards that goal. I will leave my mindset open to the fact that he's not something different from me, but through his circumstances, he found something before me. There is a different way to look at everything. Challenge yourself to look at multiple perspectives. Be aware of yourself, your emotions, and your bias, as well as accept new information and try to apply it the best that you can. I'm very passionate about this because part of the whole thing, even though the previous videos are on Christianity and the next ones will also be on Christianity, there are a lot of people that immediately want to brush off what you're saying because it has to do with this thing that they have deemed inadequate or wrong or just something that they don't like. Your challenge is to find a way to communicate with that person. One of the worst things you can do when you're trying to communicate with somebody is start off by saying, "You're wrong." So for example, if there was somebody standing across from you and they said, "Hey, there is no love in the world." And you, having experienced love and understood what it was for yourself, you know for yourself that that cannot possibly be true. But instead of starting off with, "Oh, you're stupid, you're wrong, you have no idea what you're talking about," which immediately can offend their sensibilities and raise their walls to not listen to anything that you have to say, why not say to yourself and in your mind and find a way to communicate with this person that, "Hey, maybe you're right, but let's come over here. Let me show you what I've seen. Let me show you a part of my life in which these are the things that I've interacted with." And even if they don't want to believe your experiences, why not decide for and within yourself that you will be the person that, as you can, obviously, maybe you won't be able to go as full lengths as you want, but as you personally can, you may be the first person to show them love. The first person to become somebody that challenges their perception of life. That's a much harder thing to do, and that's the mindset that you gotta have to be a go-getter in everything. I want to show you love. I want to show you kindness. I want to show you a different perspective. At the same time, I don't want to trample on your experiences. I don't want to trample on your understanding of the world, but I want us to learn from each other. I want us to sharpen each other. That's the mindset that you've got to have. Last but not least, there is a article that came out recently. I think it was on Big Think, and they said, researchers were realizing that people had this they had phobia of math. They had math phobia, basically, because they were like, "Oh my God, that's math. That's going to be too difficult to do." And I encounter this all the time, just by people wanting to use a calculator for very simple calculations, because they don't even trust their ability to add small things together. And all that I can say there is that you you can have the mindset of, well, there's something here that's easy and it's quick and it gets it done for me, or I can try to train myself to not need this thing as much so that I can be able to accomplish it on my own. If you walk into math class every day like this is going to be the hardest class ever, yeah, it's going to be really difficult. And if you walk into class this day and you're like, you know what, I'm going to remain completely open. I'm going to take exactly what they tell me and try to put it down without putting my thought process to it. And then, after I've done that and it works or it doesn't work, then I will apply my process to it. It's interesting, I took Calculus 2 with this one professor. He said, you don't need textbooks. On your test, you can use a laptop. You can use a graphing calculator. You can use a regular calculator. You can use pretty much anything other than a cell phone. I thought that was absurd. On my first test, I made a 3. A 3. That was the first time in my life that I thought about withdrawing from a class. I couldn't believe it. I refused to believe it. I went to his office and said, I have never seen something like this. And he said, no, stay tuned. First of all, the way that I do my class, it's not one test that will knock you down. Matter of fact, you can still get an A. You may have to do some harder work and some extra work and come in on days that aren't our class days, but you can make an A. And you have to learn and apply and look at it differently. When I tell you that these kids would pull up Wolfram Alpha, when people would have their laptops saved with the homework from the past couple of weeks, when they had graphing calculators, all that, and out of 30 people, 6 people made an A. I think there was like 4 B's and a couple of C's, and the rest were in the D's or E's. That's real. And it became, because I would have fallen down that same road, I refused to use, after he had said that to me, I refused to use the Wolfram Alpha, the laptop, and I only had a graphing calculator for the practical needs that I had with it. But I did most of those problems completely straight through from what he had showed me and from repetition. I had to come in and do a lot of questions and look at it and try to understand how they got there. And these are the type of problems where you would start on one side of the board, hit the other side of the board, erase the thing entirely, and fill it again and give you an answer, and you were just like... So, long-winded today, short, sort of. Change your mindset. This comes with, and it's culmination of, free your mind. You don't have to see things in one structure. See it from here, then ask your friend's perspective, ask your parents' perspective, look it up online, and then look it up in a couple of books. And from that, let all of that build into a perspective for you, rather than just going with what you know. Because then it makes it hard for you to expand your knowledge, expand your wisdom, expand anything, really. Because you're stuck in this, the feedback loop, where, oh, you know what, that's too difficult. And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy when you treat things that way. Or if you have bias, that's what it becomes, because you're always looking for examples subconsciously of what reinforces the thoughts that you already have. In science, of course, they call this confirmation bias. And that's what a lot of researchers hit. And that's part of the reason why a lot of people look at some psychology things in such a weird light, and I understand that. The thing that you've got to realize is change your mindset. Allow yourself to be open to any information coming from any source. Now, apply practical, pragmatic knowledge to it and remove opinions and bias from it, and you might be able to find the truth of it. And then if you can't, challenge yourself to find it. You don't have to do it that day, but write it down for yourself, maybe look it up later, something like that. Don't just let these things pass you by. That's all I have for you today. Have a good day.